Listen carefully because what's happening right now is not random and it's not temporary. Something has shifted in public spaces, in dating culture, in everyday interactions, and many people feel it but don't know how to name it. You can walk into a cafe, a gym, an office, a social event, and notice a strange silence, fewer glances, less pursuit, less effort, and the confusion is loud. Because for years the message was simple: attention is guaranteed, validation is endless, desire is automatic. And now, suddenly, it isn't. That sudden absence feels like rejection, but it's not rejection, it's withdrawal. And withdrawal always feels more painful than being turned down. What you're seeing isn't men becoming weak, afraid, or socially broken. It's men becoming selective in public. It's restraint replacing impulse. It's calculation replacing instinct. And that change is unsettling because it disrupts a dynamic that many took for granted. When attention disappears, it forces a mirror, and mirrors are uncomfortable when they don't reflect what you were promised. For decades, the cultural script rewarded visibility over substance, loudness over depth, performance over presence. The message was, be seen, be noticed, be admired. But admiration is fragile when it's built on surface appeal alone. The moment the audience changes, the applause stops. And right now, the audience has changed. Men are not ignoring women because women have lost value. They're ignoring publicly because the cost of public engagement has risen dramatically. One misunderstood glance can be labeled. One awkward interaction can be recorded, reframed, or ridiculed. The social risk of being visible has increased, while the emotional reward has decreased. So attention has moved underground, quiet, private, intentional. Public spaces have become stages of judgment rather than connection. And when connection turns into risk management, people pull back. Men are still interested. Desire hasn't vanished. Attraction hasn't died. What has died is the need to prove it publicly. There was a time when effort was interpreted as confidence. Today, effort is often interpreted as weakness, desperation, or entitlement, depending on who's watching. That confusion forces silence. Silence becomes safety, and safety becomes habit. What's triggering outrage isn't the lack of attention itself, it's the loss of control over attention. Because when attention is optional, it has to be earned. And earning requires self-reflection, growth, adjustment. That's where the panic begins. Modern culture told women they could have everything without changing anything. Be independent, but still be pursued. Be unattached, but still be prioritized. Be dominant, but still be cherished. Those contradictions worked only as long as men were willing to overextend themselves to resolve them. Now they're not. Men learned slowly and painfully that constant pursuit leads to emotional exhaustion, that overinvestment leads to resentment, that validation without reciprocity drains self-respect. So they recalibrated quietly without announcing it. Ignoring publicly doesn't mean ignoring entirely. It means attention is now conditional. It's given where there's softness, curiosity, warmth, and mutual respect, not entitlement, not performative confidence, not hostility disguised as strength. There's a deep misunderstanding happening. Confidence is being confused with aggression. Independence is being confused with emotional distance. Self-worth is being confused with superiority. None of those attract sustained attention. They command space, but they don't invite closeness. Public attraction used to be fueled by polarity, clear differences, complementary energies. Today, sameness is celebrated and polarity is treated as threatening. But desire lives in polarity, not sameness. When polarity disappears, attraction doesn't shout, it fades. Men aren't angry. They're tired of being expected to initiate while being punished for initiating, tired of being told they're unnecessary, then blamed for being absent, tired of emotional labor that isn't recognized as labor, so they step back. And when they step back, the silence is interpreted as punishment. It's not punishment, it's self-preservation. The phrase losing it doesn't describe hysteria, it describes disorientation. When the rules change without explanation, anxiety rises. When attention was once abundant and becomes scarce, it triggers fear. Fear of aging, fear of irrelevance, fear of being ordinary. Social media amplified this effect. Online, attention feels infinite. Offline, it's finite. When the two realities collide, the contrast feels brutal. Online validation created an inflated sense of desirability that doesn't always translate into real-world connection. When that illusion breaks, anger replaces curiosity. Instead of asking, what has changed? The question becomes, who is to blame? Blame feels easier than adaptation. But blame doesn't restore attraction, it only hardens defenses. What men are responding to now isn't beauty alone. Beauty without emotional safety feels like danger. Beauty without humility feels like competition. Beauty without warmth feels transactional. Attraction has evolved from visual to experiential. How someone makes another person feel in their presence now matters more than how they look standing alone. Calm matters, ease matters, emotional intelligence matters, and those qualities can't be broadcast, they have to be embodied. Public ignoring is a signal, not an insult. It's signaling that the old currencies no longer buy attention. Loud independence without softness doesn't translate into intimacy. Hypervisibility without mystery doesn't invite pursuit. Constant self-promotion doesn't create desire, it exhausts it. Men are paying attention quietly. They're observing how someone treats service staff, how they speak about past relationships, how they handle disagreement, how they respond to boundaries. Public silence allows private discernment. This shift feels threatening because it removes shortcuts. There's no hack for genuine connection, no algorithm, no script, no persona, just presence. The anger comes from realizing that attraction isn't guaranteed by identity. It's influenced by behavior, energy, attitude, emotional availability, and those require effort inwards, not just projection outwards. For years, effort was externalized. Dress better, post more, say less, demand more. But attraction isn't negotiated, it's invited. Men learn that chasing doesn't create desire, it creates imbalance. So they stop chasing publicly, they wait. And waiting reveals everything. Patience exposes entitlement, silence exposes insecurity, absence exposes dependence. This moment isn't about men winning or women losing. It's about recalibration, about both sides being forced to confront uncomfortable truths, about realizing that connection isn't owed, it's built. Public ignoring feels personal because it touches identity, but it's not personal, it's systemic, it's cultural fatigue, it's a collective exhale after years of tension. Those who adapt won't feel ignored, they'll feel chosen, quietly, intentionally, fully. Those who don't will keep shouting into spaces that no longer echo. And the hardest truth is this: attention isn't disappearing, it's becoming selective. And selectivity always feels like rejection to those who relied on volume. What's required now isn't louder demands or stronger defenses. It's curiosity, self-awareness, emotional flexibility, the ability to soften without shrinking, to be strong without being rigid, to be confident without being combative. Public spaces will remain quiet until safety returns, until polarity is allowed, until attraction is freed from ideology and returned to human instinct. Silence is not the enemy here. Silence is the message, and the message is simple. Connection has a new price, and not everyone is willing to pay it. And when silence stretches long enough, it stops feeling accidental and starts feeling intentional. That's when frustration turns into stories. Stories about men being intimidated, stories about men being insecure, stories about men being broken or emotionally unavailable. But those stories are comforting because they avoid the harder question: what if men aren't intimidated at all? What if they're simply no longer impressed by noise? Public ignoring is not passive, it's active discernment. It's the result of watching patterns repeat themselves with different faces. The same conversations, the same demands framed as standards, the same contradictions between words and behavior. After a while, attention stops being impulsive and starts being filtered. There's also something else happening that few want to admit. Masculine desire has become demonized unless it's expressed in very narrow, controlled ways. Initiative is scrutinized. Interest is interrogated. Confidence is reframed as arrogance. And when desire is constantly policed, it doesn't disappear. It goes underground. It becomes cautious, selective, sparse. Men learned that saying less protects them more than explaining themselves ever could. Because explanations are rarely heard, they're cross-examined. Silence avoids misinterpretation. Silence avoids escalation. Silence avoids becoming a character in someone else's narrative. At the same time, public femininity has become performative. Strength is exaggerated. Independence is overemphasized. Vulnerability is rebranded as weakness. But intimacy doesn't grow in performance. It grows in authenticity. And authenticity requires the courage to be unguarded, not just untouchable. There's a quiet competition happening in public spaces now. Who needs whom less? Who is more detached? Who is more unbothered? But desire doesn't live in detachment. It lives in mutual openness. When everyone is trying to look unshakable, no one feels invited. Men are watching how conflict is handled, whether disagreement turns into dialogue or domination, whether boundaries are respected or weaponized. Public ignoring gives them time to assess without being pulled into emotional chaos. What feels like invisibility is often invisibility to impulsive attention, not intentional interest. And impulsive attention was never stable anyway. It burned hot and faded fast. What's emerging now is slower, quieter, but far more discriminating. There's also generational fatigue. Many men watched older models of masculinity fail, men who gave everything and were still labeled insufficient, men who sacrificed peace for approval and lost both. That lesson didn't go unnoticed. So the next generation chose restraint over pursuit. Restraint is misunderstood as apathy, but restraint is discipline. It's knowing that attraction forced too early collapses later. It's understanding that mystery sustains desire longer than overexposure ever could. Public ignoring exposes something uncomfortable. Attention is not love, and validation is not connection. When those substitutes disappear, people are forced to confront emptiness they didn't know was there. That confrontation feels like loss, even though nothing real was taken away. Men are no longer trying to be chosen by everyone. They're trying to choose wisely, and wise choosing looks quiet from the outside. There's a deep shift from chemistry to compatibility, from excitement to peace, from intensity to safety. Intensity was addictive, but it was unstable. Safety doesn't trend, but it lasts. When men withdraw publicly, they're not rejecting femininity. They're rejecting volatility. They're rejecting emotional unpredictability masked as passion. They're rejecting constant testing disguised as playfulness. And the irony is that this withdrawal creates the very thing that once sparked attraction: scarcity. But scarcity now demands substance, because when attention is rare, it's given where it feels meaningful. The culture rewarded visibility so long that invisibility now feels like punishment. But invisibility can also be an invitation to become more than a surface, more than a persona, more than a brand. Men are not looking for perfection, they're looking for peace, for cooperation instead of competition, for admiration without resentment, for strength that doesn't need to announce itself. Public ignoring is a boundary, a collective one, a signal that emotional access is no longer automatic. That entry requires alignment, not entitlement, and alignment can't be forced. It can only be recognized. So the noise increases, complaints get louder, labels get harsher, because when silence refuses to engage, shouting feels like the only remaining tool. But shouting doesn't restore attraction. It only confirms the withdrawal. Men are not disappearing. They're becoming invisible by choice, and choice changes everything. And here is the truth that cuts through all the noise, the part most people avoid because it demands responsibility instead of blame. Men are not punishing anyone. They are responding to years of mixed signals, emotional taxation, public shaming, and impossible expectations. What you are witnessing is not abandonment. It is boundaries finally being enforced without apology. Public attention used to be cheap, given freely, wasted carelessly. Today, it is protected, and anything protected suddenly looks scarce to those who assumed it would always be there. The silence is not cruelty, it is clarity. If attention no longer comes automatically, it means presence matters again. If pursuit has slowed, it means peace has become more attractive than performance. If men are quiet in public, it's because they've learned that desire grows where safety exists, not where chaos is rewarded. This moment isn't asking anyone to become smaller, it's asking everyone to become deeper. Attraction was never about being loud, dominant, or untouchable. It was about creating a space where someone feels calm enough to stay, desired enough to invest, respected enough to open. Men didn't stop noticing. They stopped overextending. And the ones who understand this shift won't feel ignored. They'll feel chosen, privately, deliberately, and with intention. Because in the end, real connection doesn't chase noise. It responds to truth.